Hi guys, it's Kiyako here, back with another speed build. Today we're building a house that's inspired by the dark academia aesthetic. So it's a dark academia home, basically. It is a one-bedroom home. It's like relatively large, but I wasn't really imagining it for a family. I was imagining it for maybe one or two people. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting build, and I had a lot of fun doing this just because it's such a fun aesthetic to explore. And a lot of people really like this aesthetic, me especially. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and of course, let me know your thoughts. If you guys have any, like name ideas for what this house could be called. It might actually be more of like a manor than a house. I'm not quite sure like where to draw the distinction with this, but it is kind of like fancy and formal and regal a little bit, so maybe just come up with a name for like a fancy manor name, you know what I mean? And let me know your thoughts. But yeah, let's get into it. So as you can see, I started off with just like a little, very tiny little mood board on the left of the lot. Just put down some like picture frames, some like cool statues, just stuff that was just, like inspiring my brain for like what this build was gonna look like aesthetically. I don't know why I chose to do like a dark academia build specifically. I think it might be just like the winter time kind of making things a little bit gloomy, and I'm also very like focused on my personal academics right now. I have like a lot of projects going on. I have a final in a couple days that is just killing me, preparing for. I'm getting all, my work, and I'm just a little bit stressed right now. So, a combination of the winter time and, my focus on my academics right now, I guess it just kind of like put this idea in my head of like dark academia, like sad, gloomy, but also kind of like gothic and cool, like academic vibes. But I'm not really quite sure what kind of person lives here, or what kind of couple lives here, so let me know again if you guys have any headcanons for that. I do imagine that they are probably some sort of academic. That would make the most sense since it has the word academia in it, but maybe they're like a researcher, perhaps a writer, maybe someone who like is like a literature critic. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, because you guys always come up with way cooler things than I ever could, and I just like love talking with you guys about fun ideas and stuff. But yeah, as we get into it, basically I don't know how to explain the vibe of this house. It's like old. Yeah, I guess that's how I explain it. It's just old. That's my explanation. It's like an old style house. We have these brick walls. We have this really cool, old rough style fencing around the edge. And I actually spent like quite a lot of time on the exterior of this build. I mentioned this in my last video, I believe. But lately I've been trying to really like vamp up my exteriors to try to make them a lot more detailed. Because I tend to do pretty detailed, interiors, and my exteriors can get left behind a little bit. So I wanted to like really push myself. So I actually spent quite a lot of time on trying to make the exterior of this house seem, like really cool and detailed. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, but let me know, of course, what you guys think. But a lot of this exterior, you can see we have we're gonna have like a little garden patch over here. We're gonna have some gardens in the back. So there's actually quite a lot of like, what's the word? Like nature space for this person to walk to. So even though this person probably is like a bookworm who likes to stay inside a lot and read, which, kind of comes with the dark academic vibe, I do imagine that they probably like, walking around the grounds of their manor sometimes, taking these walks through their garden, maybe doing like some research on their plants. I do feel like there is a type of dark academia that can be tied to nature. So that's what I was trying to do with this whole like exterior space. Dark academia is such an interesting aesthetic. I was just looking at the Wikipedia page for the aesthetic right before this video. Yes, there is a Wikipedia page for the aesthetic. Isn't that interesting? But it really rose to popularity on the internet in like 2015 is what the Wikipedia page said, if I'm remembering correctly, which makes sense for me, right? It's like the Tumblr era of dark academia aesthetics and like just all the other aesthetics that came to be popular at that time. So I was on Tumblr a lot when I was younger. When I was in high school, I was one of those kids who was definitely contributing to the rise of, this aesthetic and popularity. I haven't been on Tumblr in a long time other than to find custom content, so I'm not quite sure if this is still like a really big thing on there. Let me know if it is, if any of you guys are still, on Tumblr. But I do see it a lot just like on Pinterest sometimes. I see it a lot, on TikTok. I think it's definitely making a comeback, just the nostalgia of it in general, because a lot of nostalgic aesthetics are definitely coming back right now. Like cottagecore is nostalgic, fairycore is a little bit, like all those old school things. Like I feel like people right now are feeling a very strong sense of nostalgia to quote-unquote simpler times when we didn't have the internet, times when life seemed simpler. And of course that's not to say that people want to live in times when things were worse in terms of, people's rights and, food shortages and disease and all that stuff, but just in terms of like the aesthetic and just the idea of the simplicity of life, right? People didn't have to worry about Facebook, back then. There's a simplicity to the idea of being able to just, read a book, sit by your garden, look out your window, just things. I think people just these days want to reflect and be nostalgic for a time when they didn't have so much stuff going on all the time, because the internet is just this constant thing that is always available to us, and at times, like, I just get so tired of it. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the internet, I use it all the time. Obviously you guys are listening to me 3 days a week, and I spend way more time than that, but I get it. Like, I sometimes I long for like a little vacation to live off in a cottage somewhere and like not have my phone and not have my computer and literally just like live like a human being, walk around the outside, smell flowers and stuff. That being said, I probably get bored after like a few days, but there's still that desire to live more simply. And I think that's why all the aesthetics are coming back right now, is because it's just reflective on, when things were just a little bit less complicated in the world. Or at least that's my take on it. I don't know. What do you guys think? But that's getting into the aesthetic a little bit deeper than perhaps you want to go for this video. In general, I really do like the dark academia aesthetic. I like the idea that the academic world can be an aesthetic. Isn't that so interesting? Like, research and science and knowledge is now like an aesthetic that can be like commodified. Isn't that so strange? I love it though. I love that, it's, I don't know, it's really cool. I love the fact that books right now are becoming more popular, and it's, like I said, it's tied, I think, to this desire for simpler times. I think books are making a comeback, the desire for something that's more physical, more tangible, that we can actually like connect with, and of course that's definitely tied to the dark academia aesthetic. I have been trying to get back into books, and I kind of have. Like, I've read some stuff recently. I'm currently reading a book about interior design, about like the research and data behind interior design and how like interior environments like actually affect our behavior in our lives. It's a fascinating book. It's called The Great Indoors, by Emily Anthes, I believe. So check it out if you want to read it, because so far it's been very, very good. But so far that's the only book that I've really like cracked into. After I'm done with this book, I hope to find another one that holds my interest as much, because I definitely want to be someone who reads a lot, because I think reading is just such a wonderful thing, and it definitely like grounds me a little bit more, I think, personally, just than being on the internet. It also helps me sleep better because I've been trying to not be so looking at screens before I sleep, because I find that I sleep worse when I do that, and I'm pretty sure studies have shown that that's true, that looking at bright screens like messes with your sleep cycle. So I'm going to try to be someone who reads before I sleep, because that makes sense just in terms of helping me sleep, and it makes sense in terms of like the time of day that I have the least amount of stuff to do. So far I just, read whenever I can, just if I'm commuting on a train or something, or if I just have some downtime in between my classes, I try to read. But I'm definitely not like a big reader yet, and I'm trying to be. Whenever I think about dark academia, the first thing I think about is Hermione Granger from Harry Potter. I don't know why. I think it's just the dark academia aesthetic is definitely tied to the Harry Potter fandom, just in terms of the rise of its popularity, in conjunction with the popularity of Harry Potter at that time on the internet. And Hermione Granger is just like such an academic, freaking icon, and just in terms of someone who is so intelligent, who loves to read and who loves to do schoolwork. And I always really related to that. I was a very academic person growing up. And now as an adult, now that I don't read as much, I don't like it, because I want to be Hermione Granger. I want to be this young woman who is so intelligent and who loves to read and so knowledgeable about the world, and I don't feel that way about myself right now. So I really think that I'm going to try to read more. I encourage you guys to do the same. Not that there's anything wrong with, not reading, but I do think that it's something that we should all, try to do. So if you guys have any book recommendations, and you have given me book recommendations in the past, I apologize that I haven't read any of them yet, but I'm trying to get to it. But of course, if you have any more recommendations, let me know. Lately, I've been getting into nonfiction, so nonfiction recommendations are probably, the most relevant to me at this moment in my life. I'm trying to learn a lot more about the world, and I think that's something that's important to do as you get older and as you become an adult, an independent person in this world, a human being who actually has to, live in this world. I want to know more about the world that I'm living in, So let me know if you guys have any book recommendations, and let me know what your own personal experiences with this, with reading and with the internet, and how you think the internet has, shaped your life or your culture. It's just such an interesting topic that I think that we need to have more of a conversation about. I think a lot of young people these days, especially since we are growing up with the internet versus like having it come into our lives like older people, it seems a lot more intense of a part of our human experience. But it wasn't always this way, right? Because my parents did not have the internet until they were a lot older than I was, and I had the internet when I was a child. Some kids are growing up these days with iPads, and we don't necessarily know the full effects of that yet. We don't know what it's going to do to people or what it's going to mean for humanity as we all age up and progress. This conversation is getting a little deeper than I usually go in my videos, but it's just something that I've been thinking about lately. And honestly, like the dark academia build that I'm doing right now was just like making me think about academia in general. So I don't know, it just sparked some things for me. So let me know. If you don't want to get too deep into the conversation, we don't have to get too deep into the conversation, but I'm curious as to, how you guys feel about this, because obviously you're watching me and listening to me on the internet. So I love the internet. It's a place where I can be creative and to meet and to talk to people across the world at any time of day, and I think that's fantastic. But I'm curious as to how you guys feel like the internet and, just the way it's so fully integrated into our lives has affected you personally, because I do feel like it has some effect on me, but I haven't quite been able to super tangibly describe what exactly it has done to my life. I don't know yet, and because it's so new to humanity, I don't think we'll know for a very long time what it actually means for us as a species. Anyways, we're getting a little bit deep right now, but I'm just in one of those moods, Speaking of which, one of my moods, I'm so stressed right now, you guys. I've mentioned this before. I'm just like trying to finish up this big project I have in a couple days, and it is stressing me the hell out. And what I learned about myself through this process is that I don't get stressed about projects that I don't care about. And I didn't know this about myself. I thought that I was always someone who didn't really get stressed about academic stuff. But as soon as I started studying interior design, I started getting way more stressed out about my projects. And I had no idea why, because it was, a similar amount of coursework to stuff I've done in the past. But I realized for me that because I was so passionate about the material and because I wanted everything I made to be so good and so reflective of how much I actually care about this practice, it just stresses me out a lot more because I'm trying to get every detail done. I'm trying to be much more of a perfectionist with my work. Because, when I was in high school and I had a big, math class project, I did not get stressed because I did not care. I just was not the type of person who really cared about that kind of, I wasn't passionate about it. It didn't really, spark passion in me. So now that I'm doing something that I actually care about, I'm way more stressed out. So it's like a weird catch-22 where it's I'm happier, but I'm also more stressed out. I don't know. It's strange. Let me know if any of you guys have experienced this as well, or if I'm just super crazy. I don't know. But we are getting into the interior of this build. Let's get back to the build. My brain is too all over the place right now. I'm talking about too deep stuff for the internet. Let's just get into the build. I love how the interior of this build turns out, especially this wall that I'm doing right now. So this wall is basically a wall of just a collection of photographs and paintings and stuff like that. And I love what are these called? They're either called gallery walls or salon or saloon style walls. And they're just so fun. It's so cool. I kind of had a hard time finding enough paintings to fill this up. So there are some repeated paintings, but I tried to make them different sizes so that it all kind of, blended in well enough. But I really like the idea that, maybe some of these are historical references to the history of this house, or maybe it's family history, or maybe it's just references to famous academics, famous writers, famous researchers, scientists, stuff like that, or just people that, the person who lives here admired. I don't know. Let me know if you guys have any headcanons about these paintings, because they could be like so many different things. And I love how they just like fill up this entire wall. So as soon as you walk in, you get like smacked in the face with the dark academic vibes. Because like, look, the biggest painting there is someone reading a book. So if that doesn't tell you what kind of house this is, I don't know what will. But I'm just gonna put in a few more. Basically, this is just our main like entry salon, entranceway. We have this really pretty tile on the floor. I put in a little like a circular seat in the center, if you guys saw that, which you'll see in a second anyways. And basically this entrance is going to lead back into a dining room that's going to lead, to a little hallway with a kitchen, and then we'll get to the rest of the house after that. I definitely like the first floor better than the second floor. I think I just spent more time on the first floor because I was less tired. That tends to happen to me, where as I move through builds, I start off like really strong with a lot of detail, and then it just kind of declines over time, the level of detail, just because I get a little bit more tired. It gets super late at night, and I'm like, okay, I need to finish this build, and then I just kind of like wrap up rooms really quickly. So that's kind of what happened a little bit with this build, but I still think it turns out looking pretty good. I must say, you guys probably should know this about me. I build very late at night, just so you know. Like, this is not like prime Kiarko. This is not me at my highest level of energy. Like, I build probably like from 8 p.m. to like midnight every night. So sometimes I've gone until 2 a.m. That's happened before. I don't think I have like a super healthy like relationship with building yet. I need to definitely do it earlier in the day and not let it like interrupt my sleeping as much. But I'm a night owl, and I think I'm more creative when I'm sleepy. So I don't know. I love this build so much, but I was definitely like falling asleep near the end because it was very late at night. But let me know if any of you guys are the same way. If you come home after school and you just like game until the rise of dawn, because that's what I do sometimes. But yeah, so this is our dining room, which we're finishing up right now. I imagine that this person who lives here like likes to host a lot of like dinner parties with like fellow academics, where they can talk about science and research and literature and art and all sorts of cool things. I would love to be at one of those dinner parties. I feel like I have so much to learn about the world, and I want to meet like more people who know more than me. Not that I haven't, like I definitely have met a lot of people who know more than me, but I want to meet even more people who are like super like professionals in their field. Like, I would like to meet neurosurgeons and people who are doing like crazy things in science, and people who are studying like weird phenomena and stuff. I would love to learn like so much about the world. I don't know, maybe that's just like me becoming an adult, is realizing how little that I know about the world that I live in. I don't know. And I do know for a fact that a lot of you know a lot of things that I don't know. So of course, this is my call out to you. If there's things that you want to tell me about or teach me about, if something in this build is like incorrect for, I don't know, a time period or an idea, just let me know. Let's talk about it. I want to learn, and I know that you guys have so much to teach me. And hopefully, like, I can teach you guys some stuff too about interior design, which I hope that I do. But let's learn from each other. I know that some of you have like the coolest jobs. Like I've had conversations with some of you guys in the comment section and on the Discord down below about the things that you do in your life, and you guys have the coolest lives. You guys live all over the world. You have the coolest interests. You have the coolest jobs. You have the coolest schools. That's what I do love about the internet, is that I can have access to you guys, and that we can actually like talk and communicate and like learn about each other, and through learning about each other we learn about the world, and that's what I think is just so wonderful about the internet. It's a weird conversation to have about the internet. There's so many pros and there's a lot of cons too, so I don't know. I'm really curious as to what you guys think. Anyways, I keep going all over the place with this narration. I apologize. I'm a little bit tired because I was up super late doing this, and I'm super stressed out about my project. My brain is just a little bit scattered right now. That tends to happen to me quite a bit recently. But we are in the kitchen now, which is a very simple kitchen. I didn't spend a lot of time in this room just because I didn't feel like it was like super a high point of focus for this house. I feel like this person definitely spends a lot of time reading and writing and researching and playing the piano and playing chess. I don't think they're much of a cook. I feel like they probably have like probably like a private chef, or maybe just like a friend who comes by and like cooks all their meals or something like that, so they can like be reading and like eating a bowl of soup at the same time, and they don't even have to look up from their book. I imagine that this is that type of person who lives here. But wow, I love the first floor. I think it's so moody and gloomy, but also just like academic. I don't know. It's wonderfully academic. Anyways, we're up to the second floor now. So this is where I started getting a little bit tired. So you'll see the level of detail going down slightly. That being said, I still think it turns out looking pretty good. This place definitely gives me like kind of Harry Potter vibes, and I think that's just, inherent whenever you do anything dark academia, since the Harry Potter aesthetic was so, I think, defining for the internet in terms of the types of aesthetics that, came forth. So it looks a little bit Harry Potterish with kind of like the gloomy dark tones, but also just like a sense of whimsy with, the floral wallpaper and the books everywhere and the chess tables and stuff like that. This house could probably double as like a Harry Potter build if you really wanted it to. So maybe it's a Harry Potter build, I don't know. But in general, I was just kind of thinking of like a dark academic, aesthetic. Up here is our little library corner, which is a little small. I wish I had more space to put more, bookshelves in, but I did what I could, and I still think it's a pretty, robust library. And then we just have another little seating area up here that leads out into a balcony, so you can, read in here, you can read out on the balcony. A lot of reading spaces, because I do imagine that the person who lives here is such a bookworm. I'm jealous. I wish I was a bookworm. I was when I was a child, and then I was introduced to the internet, so there you go. And then of course, we have another bookcase up there. Can't get enough books. And then we have a really cool car parked out front because, they probably have to drive to the bookstore every once in a while. Anyways, that is the build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my all over the place, very strange narration. And I hope you guys had a wonderful week and have a wonderful weekend coming up. As always, I will be working all weekend. That is just the way that my life is going right now. I'm just a little bit busy. But after this upcoming week, I will be on, a month-long break. So during that amount of time, I will be able to, do a lot of builds. And I'm just really excited to, do that and show you guys what I have to show you. Anyways, as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.